Last week, I discussed how to get rid of passive voice from your novel so that you can make your reading experience more immersive. I briefly mentioned in the beginning of that video that I also have some other writing demons that I've been dealing with. This week, we're going to talk about filter words and other useless, dirty words that you can get rid of. When I say dirty words, I don't mean bad words like F-bombs. I mean dirty words that make your manuscript not really clean. They kind of make it a little messy. Growing up, I had the idea that all novels were just these perfect creatures and they were born that way. And the first time the writer sat down to write on their page, it just came out looking like that. That's not true. And any writing that you read that has clunky words or words that don't really carry any meaning to them seems like novice writing. It's difficult to immerse yourself in a story when you're too busy noticing how many times the author uses the word that. Like me. Getting rid of these dirty words is part of the finishing touches phase of novel building. Disclaimer, don't delete every instance of each one of these words that I'm going to talk about. Some of the below words are good in some uses, in some cases they're not. So before you go jabbing that delete key, make sure you read every sentence that has one of these words to make sure that you should delete it. So here are 29 dirty words you should delete out of your novel. First up, filter words. Now, most writers want their readers to be fully immersed into their novel, to feel what the character is feeling and even imagine themselves being that character. My definition of filter words is Satan's words. Filter words are used when writers try to filter the reader's experience through the point of view of one of the characters. We know likey filtering. We want real drama, raw, and firsthand. The following are examples of filter words that you should avoid using in any tense of these root words. See, look, hear, know, realize, wonder, decide, notice, feel, remember, and think. I had to do that in parts because that was a lot. That list is not all-inclusive, but if you want to see a paragraph example of this with 2 paragraphs side by side with filter words and without filter words, just click on the link down below to my post and I have an example laid out there. For now, we'll just look at one sentence. Lucy felt the cold air against her skin and decided it was too late to leave. Compare that to the cold air pressed against Lucy's skin. It was too late to leave now. That wasn't the best sentence, but you should get an idea of what we eliminated. The unnecessary storyteller. Don't tell me how Lucy felt, allow me to experience it as she's experiencing it. Also, your word count typically goes down when you do this, and that raises your punch to word ratio. More punches, less words. The next word is that. This is my most commonly committed crime. If the sentence makes sense without this word, and there are some cases where it will make sense, so don't go Rambo on this one, then delete it. For this sentence, it was easy to see that the dog was hurt. You don't need the that. It's just not needed. Of, as in all of the. I don't know why I love this one so much, but it pops up everywhere. That of is not required. Delete it. Really and very. These words weaken your... Oh my gosh. Well, that's never happened before. Just kidding, it has. Ugh. Oh my God. Well, I'm awake now. That scared the bejesus out of me. Well, that was exciting. Really and very. These words weaken your storytelling. I recommend finding a word to replace this and then the word that they modify. Instead of saying very happy, you could say excited or ecstatic. Adverbs or words that end in ly. Not all of these words are terrible, but in general, you should avoid trying to use them in every single sentence that you write. Usually there's a better word that you could use instead of that adverb, or you could delete it altogether. I love adverbs and I spend a large majority of my editing time getting rid of them. Down or up, as in sit down or stand up. These words can be deleted immediately when found after sit or stand, so Control F that joker and kick it to the curb. Then, much like filter words, this is an unnecessary storytelling word. It should be happening as the reader's reading it so he knows, and then it happened. Start or begin. I'm guilty of using these words because I want to mark the beginning of something, but usually you don't need it. For example, the boy began to cry. Instead of saying began, you could say the boy cried, or even better, you could say tears welled up in the boy's eyes. Sudden. This suddenly makes a sentence less sudden. Don't waste the time to write this word when we're hanging on the edge of our seats to know what happens next. Just. I always hate nixing this word because I like to use it a lot in dialogue, but most times it's not really needed. Next up, redundant phrases. These can be a little trickier to find because a lot of them are actually figures of speech in the English language, so we're used to saying them. Things like final outcome or actual fact. They're redundant and you don't need one of those words. Other examples are added bonus, close proximity, which I have been guilty of, protest against, repeat again, or armed gunman. Next up, the. I was surprised to learn about this word because it rarely pops up in its deletable form, but it's good to know about. Consider the following sentence. The rain pattered on the skylight. The first the is not needed, you can delete it. So instead you could say rain pattered on the skylight. That versus who. Make sure you try to use the appropriate one here, even though this is not a set in stone rule. But if you're referring to a person, don't follow it with that. So, he's one of the men that ran for president should really be he's one of the men who ran for president. That's not really a deleting one and more of a make sure you do this versus that, but whatever. Almost, rather, and somewhat. Prose can be tightened by deleting this word or rephrasing the sentence altogether to make it sound better. Instead of saying he was rather large, you could say he towered over the three men. Again, if you would like to see more examples of these words used in sentences, please check out my blog post listed down below in the comments. I just didn't really have a way to write them each individually. It would just take too long. I had too many sentences and too many examples. So make sure you check out that post. Editing these dirty words out of your novel does take time, and trust me, I know, but your manuscript will improve tremendously because of it. Now, some would argue that you don't really need to self-edit these words out and that, that's what you pay an editor for. But while this is true, the best way to learn something is to crawl through the trenches. I'm taking the time to find each one of these dirty words in my writing so that I don't make this mistake again. I want to drill it in my head that I shouldn't be using those words, so in future writings, maybe I use less of them. Plus, your line editor might not enjoy you giving them such an unpolished manuscript. And usually it costs more because they have to take more time to go through stuff. As always, I hope that was really helpful for you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, whatever your plans for this week are. If you have a topic that you would like me to cover that I haven't already covered, just drop a line down below or tweet me at Vivien Reis and let me know. Subscribe to my channel because for 2 weeks in a row, I have posted videos. Hooray! And I should be posting them every Wednesday. Bye guys!